Hello everyone, welcome to this little video which is a bit different to what I've been doing. Today I am welcoming my partner, Allan, and we're going to have a little bit of a chat about Crohn's disease. Now, as many of you are aware, I am running 2 marathons, one already run, plus an ultramarathon. So I've done Venice, I've got London coming up in April, and an ultramarathon, Jurassic Coast off-road in May, and all of those 3 I'm running for Crohn's and Colitis UK. Now, Allan has, well, he knows firsthand really what living with Crohn's is like as a sufferer of the disease. So I thought it might be quite interesting to have a little chat with him today about his experiences of living with Crohn's, so you guys can get a little bit more of an understanding of the impact this disease has on individuals and why I'm trying to raise as much money as possible to help with this charity. So thanks for coming along, Allan.
Is it my job to make people feel sorry for me to donate more?
Yeah, of course. We will put the QR code at the end for any donations. Absolutely. But let's have a little cheers.
Yeah.
We also thought it'd be fun to incorporate having a little drink. It is actually our 3-year anniversary tomorrow. So cheers to that.
Cheers to that.
Today,
Thanks for reminding me.
What are we drinking today?
A G&T, specifically Jeremy Clarkson's Diddley Squat.
Diddley Squat.
Which my sister kindly bought us for Christmas.
So yes, cheers.
Cheers.
We'll try and get through the conversation before we finish these.
Probably be a little bit drunk.
So, Allan, tell me, like, how did you first discover that you had Crohn's disease, and what impact?
Crippling pain.
It had? Yeah.
I was about 24 when I started. I'm not sure whether to look at them or look at you. Probably a bit both. I was 24 when I started kind of just being ill, like stomach pain, things like that. But really, it kind of came out of nowhere. Things escalated very fast. I think I was coming up 26, and I ended up having to go to hospital, just in a lot of pain, stuff that I won't go into kind of occurring at the same time.
Well, at this point you didn't know what it was.
Oh, I didn't know what, well, but before I had so at this point I had an inkling of what it was, only because I'd gone to places, had obviously some consultants and doctors say potentially, but because things happened so fast, I was put into hospital, and I was in there for a number of days and on all kinds of medication and things for suspected Crohn's / colitis, and yeah, I mean, it really was just a case of a lot of drugs, a lot of cortisone to try and reduce inflammation. And I actually got better. I got better, came out of hospital, and tried to resume normal life. And I was then having more tests and things, and they said, well, it's indeterminate Crohn's / colitis. And at that point, I was 25, so pretty young.
Yeah. So what were some of the challenges that you faced then? I mean, at that point, you thought you were fixed potentially.
Yeah. I think when you kind of get over it and you start getting back to normal, you quickly resume your habits that you had before. Whilst I was kind of always fit, and I would say healthy, mostly because I was fit, I probably didn't have the best diet. I didn't really look after myself. I was always burning the candle at both ends.
Did you find certain foods that were aggravating you then?
Not that I really recall. No, there was. Oh dear, what's that?
Oh, the phone's trying to talk to us. Just ignore that.
There we go.
Do continue.
I remember what I was saying. Foods. Yeah, no, not that I remember. Not at that point. I wasn't trying to dodge anything. I think I tried to be a bit sensible. Cut out the obvious stuff. Like I wouldn't perhaps eat as much chocolate. Maybe cut down on fast food for a bit. I do remember trying to be a bit healthier, I suppose, but not hugely.
Yeah.
But yeah, it impacted my life to the point of people don't know. It's known as the kind of invisible disease, I suppose, one of a few of them. And when you're at work and you're needing time off all the time, and putting it bluntly, when you got issues with your guts, you're always needing the toilet. And being in the office space that I was at the time, and like constantly having to go to the loo, needing time off work, and just always being absolutely exhausted because it would just sap all your energy. And I don't really remember understanding why. I just thought, I'm tired. I didn't really know that it was Crohn's at that point.
Did you not get a final sort of absolute diagnosis?
Not at that point.
No. So what happened next?
Well, so I carried on for a while. I actually went on holiday with my mate Wayne and my parents, who went out to Florida, stayed at a villa, and that was probably around September time of 2001. In fact, yeah, is that right? 2000? No, 2000. I think it's 2000. No, anyway, it doesn't really matter. Around that time, and I remember feeling all right, but I had like a big face because the steroids I had taken give you like moon face, as they used to call it. So I looked a bit like, but at that point, I was kind of doing normal things, thinking that really I was on the way up.
Yeah, and you came back from Florida.
Yeah, I came back from Florida. And it was around October time, so literally kind of like the following month, that I just started feeling bad again. Some really bad stomach pains, stomach cramps. Went into hospital. I remember going into hospital and like just kind of saying, things seem to be returning, and had some examinations.
That sound very pleasant.
And they said, "Oh, it doesn't look too bad. You won't be in here very long. Be out soon." Okay. That didn't happen. Things went downhill really fast. I was in hospital for a number of, I don't know, weeks, I suppose. I went from probably just under 12 stone, probably down. I lost at least a couple of stone at that point, like very quickly, in that first stint in hospital. And then again, I did actually start to recover a bit, and like they were getting to the point of getting to send me home, and they did send me home, but I wasn't at home for very long before I was emergency into the hospital. And I remember like them saying, and then I think before even I had the operation, I'd lost even more weight, and I remember weighing myself. I don't remember if it was pre or post operation now, but I was like 8 stone something.
Wow, that's
so I'd lost
crazy.
like not quite, about 3.5 stone probably in just a matter of weeks.
So was this just through to, well, I guess you hadn't been eating at all.
Couldn't eat.
Your body's been fighting something off, but we didn't really know what was going on at this point.
No.
And then you were pretty poorly.
Very, very, very ill. And yeah, when I went to the hospital and they said, well, you've basically got to have surgery like today. Because I guess I'm skipping bits, I don't need to know all of it, but basically had something called toxic megacolon. And you could see, I know, it sounds cool.
It sounds like something Transformer. From like a baddie in a movie.
Megacolon. Lesser known Transformer. But you can see the side of my, it was distended. It was out here, it wasn't right. And what they didn't want is that to burst, like to rupture.
Goodness no.
That would have been death. With my level of like how ill I was, I would never have survived that. So we just got to be safe. And when you're that ill, you kind of go, just stop it, just stop. You just want to stop the pain.
Yeah. So how did they sort
Well,
you out?
yeah. So, um, I mean, I have a memory of being aware that there was some split of my survival chances at that point, and I got a feeling it was pretty bad. It seemed in my head I have this 70-30 split into the case of a 30% chance of surviving the operation.
Oh,
I don't, it's one of these things I'm not
yeah.
actually sure is really 100% true. I think that is.
Mm.
Um, and so, yeah, I go into operating theatre. They do what they do, take out uh, basically 90% of my colon and form an ileostomy on this side and attach a bag to me.
Mm.
And I'm 25, you
Yeah.
know, with
Yeah.
all the issues that, I mean, 25 is, young enough to still be very body conscious and
Well, I think we all are at any age,
mm,
really, and that's such a huge impact on anyone's sort of image, not just day to day life, but how you feel about yourself, how you feel about around other people. And I can imagine there were a number of challenges that came into your mind about how do I explain this to people?
yeah.
I mean, how did it how did it affect social situations? Presumably, you come out of hospital and you're feeling a lot better.
No, I wasn't. I came home from hospital because I was in bits. I couldn't stay in hospital any longer. I had to get out. Um, I remember I would pretend to be better than I was, so the consultant would consider sending me home. I put, I couldn't stand up. I remember in the hospital bed, I actually had like a ladder that was attached to the bottom of the bed and laid across the bed because if I wanted to sit up, I had to use
Pull
my
yourself.
arms because I had no
Yeah.
no movement in my core at all. But yeah, I mean, I got to the point where they were okay to send me home, and they sent me home to my parents, and I had to sleep downstairs on a mattress, and all the time that you are recovering, like your focus is on trying to get better. You're not. I wasn't too aware of. Well, I was aware, obviously, but just not. I don't know. My focus was just on trying to feel better, get stronger, I suppose.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. And when did you start to feel like you were coming out the other side of this?
Um, it probably wasn't as long as I think, but I remember that I progressed from sleeping downstairs and like being completely useless, like an invalid, um, to being able to kind of get up on my legs, which were matchsticks by that point. Um, and I had a Zimmer frame. I had to have a Zimmer frame to kind of move about, but it was novel. I remember being like excited about the prospect of being able to walk outside,
Yeah.
like genuinely walk up the road. I remember
Yeah.
I remember having the thought, I just want to be able to walk up the road. I could go walk to Sainsbury's. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Whereas
that,
previously you'd been very active your
yeah,
entire
I
life.
mean, yeah, very active, very, very active. Always
Yeah.
had been. Um, and I mean, this is, this. So so I had the operation in October. And it's funny, I think it might have been 2000. What do I? 2001. 2001. Um, and then to me, probably getting up and moving around sometime in the next year, maybe January, February, maybe something like that. Um, but yeah, you have to. I don't know. Your focus is so much on just trying to get better, trying to move, and actually the bigger problems came when I started to return to somewhat normal, as in normal life.
Mm-hmm.
But yet I wasn't normal anymore.
Yeah.
Like I still had like a bag attached to me. I had a scar that from here to here, and
So that must have been quite difficult to deal with emotionally,
yeah, on and off.
despite the fact it had saved your life, of course.
Yeah, and everyone says, "God, saved your life," and you go, "Yeah, I know," and of course, that's the main goal, but
Mm.
you can't help but I couldn't help but wish that I hadn't had to have it, of course.
Yeah. And were you hoping it was going to get? Did you know it would get reversed?
So I remember asking like don't take everything. I want the opportunity, if if it's possible, to be able to have a reversal.
Yeah.
And they said, well, we'll just have to see what it's like. Luckily for me, they did. They were able to.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, only so I think it was like 9 months later, I had a reversal operation, which now I look back and that's incredible.
Yeah.
But I was persistent in asking for it. I wrote letters, just saying, look, I'm 25. I'm feeling good, and I was,
Yeah.
feeling better. And yeah, they were great actually. It's all NHS.
Yeah.
And yeah, I got back in quick.
So I say, put you back together. They managed to reattach you, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And the recovery from that, how did that go?
Mixed. There's other complications. There's other complications that come along as a result of Crohn's and shortened bowel,
Mm-hmm.
fistulas, fissures. Just
Yeah.
you've all of a sudden you've not got as much storage space.
Yeah. So really, from when pretty much you were on death's door, they managed to save your life. They put you back together. Fast forward 20 years plus. How do you find it affects your life now? I mean, to look at you, you think there's absolutely nothing. You know, a strong, healthy 40-something male. But you know, I know you were in hospital last year for a few days, so it doesn't go away, this disease, does it? What are your struggles really on a day-to-day, week to week, whatever? What do you have to be more careful of?
Careful. So the reason I was in hospital pretty recently after we ran a half marathon in the heat.
Yeah.
So,
I dragged you
and
along.
yeah, so what I struggle with is kind of where they join me together. I think there's a narrowing, and if I have the kind of too much food that can congeal, and then I get dehydrated, it blocks, and then I don't necessarily know, and then nothing move, and then I just get nothing wants to go out, so things kind of come, and I feel absolutely terrible, and I felt awful then.
Yeah.
I had to go in hospital, get on a drip, get hydrated, which was really the fix, was hydration. But on a daily basis, ever since really, I was 26, let's just say, when I got put back together. It's always like, oh, should we go and do this? Should we go and do that? And I'm like, toilet. I'm like, how do I go?
Yeah.
And if you go away with friends and they go, oh, do you want to share a room? I think, oh, I'm going to get up in the middle of the night. I'm going to wake them up at the toilet. It is a constant consideration of lose. It's not as bad now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm probably the best I've been since. Obviously down to you.
Of course.
Yeah, I'm the best I've been. For a long time. And I mean, and so when I say that, in 2016 I ran a marathon myself, and for Crohn's and colitis.
Yeah.
And that was 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Coming up. So it's not like I'm not being able to do things. I got back into playing tennis in my early 30s. I think that was the thing when I had the bag attached to me. I'm thinking all my sporting stuff's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I won't be able to do that anymore, which is false. You can, but nonetheless, you just I like doing things to a high standard. I thought that would compromise me, and truth is, I was my fittest at 43.
Yeah.
Like, definitely.
Yeah. So it doesn't have to hold you back. There are always going to be challenges, but there are people out there thriving, as you are a prime example. But of course, we know there are others suffering to varying degrees from this disease, and so you nearly died. I'll be speaking to someone who's struggled for the past, well, basically half her life, which will be on another video. But again, this disease can affect people in many different ways, but it's constantly there, it's constantly on your mind, having to make decisions potentially that the rest of us wouldn't normally think would be a problem. But what are your hopes for the future in terms of managing and coping with Crohn's disease?
Well, so I'll step back a bit, because the kind of things that come along with Crohn's disease, they are invisible, and I think it's important for, like, one of the messages is that it affects you in so many ways. It's not about that you need the toilet and you get stomach cramps.
No.
It can make you feel like you have arthritis. I had a doctor tell me, "Oh, you've probably got arthritis because my joints are aching." It's just inflammatory disease. I don't get that anymore. I haven't had that for years, in fact. But I remember my eyes hurting, like my hair, if it bent the other way, would hurt.
Wow.
And just, you were thinking all the time you had to balance your energy because you couldn't do much, and you feared, like, you wanted to go and see your friends, you wanted to mix in, but you realized that you can't necessarily do that. And so I think there's so many diseases, conditions, or whatever that affect people in ways that are visible, but they will also be obviously affected psychologically, deeply.
Absolutely.
And neither one, an invisible or a visible disease is not better or worse than the other. But things that are invisible tend to not quite get the same level of awareness as stuff that is, or yeah. But sorry, your question was again?
Just your hopes for sort of the future in terms of managing it. I mean, I guess from a personal point of view, but I guess it's difficult to give advice, isn't it, when this disease affects people in so many different ways.
It is very individual.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I've been lucky in many respects, because I run marathons. I do pretty much anything. I do more probably than what I used to. But for me, part of me is thinking that at some point in the future, it will return. It's nothing you ever get rid of. Perhaps reduce your life expectancy to a degree, and the more you hear about gut microbiome, biome, and all this stuff, it's like, hey, half of your guts is like connected to your brain and your mental health, and got to look after it. I'm like, well, I haven't got any. So yeah, my hopes are that I just stay feeling well.
Yeah. So do I. I also hope that you continue to stay.
I can still drink gin and tonics.
Yes, you don't have to give up alcohol, so it seems.
Yeah,
not in Alan's case.
Yeah, there's definitely some stuff, depending on where people are with it. There's definitely some things you would try and avoid, like inflammatory stuff, and alcohol is not something that is good for it. But I enjoy it.
Yeah.
And it's important to also enjoy things.
Cheers to that.
Cheers to that.
Well, I think we've talked to you for long enough. I hope that's given you guys a little bit of an insight into Alan's journey with Crohn's disease. There is a wealth of information online for you to find out more if you go to Crohn's and Colitis UK's website. There's lots of information on there. There's some really inspirational people as well online to follow who are living with Crohn's, living with colitis, some with bags, some without, but they're all thriving and they're all living life to the best of their ability with this chronic hidden disease. So thank you ever so much for joining us on our little chat, and thanks for following me. There'll be more updates here on YouTube as my journey towards the marathon and the ultra progresses. So take care wherever you are, and thank you very much.
Thank you.